huge pleasure to be here today. I'm a great admirer of everything that the Partnership on AI has been doing to date in the AI governance field. They've really led the way in so many ways. And it's great to see so many familiar faces around the room today as well. Now, as many as you know, and as Rebecca's mentioned, some years ago in 2017, as a result of setting up a cross-party group in the UK Parliament, I was asked to chair the House of Lords Special Inquiry Select Committee on AI, which had the remit to consider the economic, ethical, and social implications of advances in artificial intelligence. A pretty broad brief. And this produced a report, AI in the UK, Ready, Willing and Able, in April 2018. And it took a very close look at the UK government policy towards AI and its ambitions. And since then, I've been lucky enough to have acted as an advisor to the Council of Europe's Working Party on AI and the One AI group of the OECD, and helped establish the OECD Global Parliamentary Network on AI. So it's been quite a ride, and it hasn't stopped yet. Now, of course, AI presents opportunities in a whole variety of sectors. Opportunities for AI are incredibly varied. Indeed, many people find it unhelpful to have such a wide variety of different types of machine learning labeled AI as it is, but it's been a name been used since 1956, so I think we're stuck with it. Increasingly, the benefits are not just seen around increasing efficiency, speed, etc., in terms of analysis, pattern detection, and ability to predict, but now with generative AI, much more about what creatively AI can add to human endeavor, and that brings its own challenges. And nowadays, barely a day goes by without some reference to AI in the news media, particularly some aspects of large language models. We saw the initial excitement over ChatGPT from OpenAI, and AI text-to-image applications such as DALL-E, and now we have ChatGPT-4, Llama, Claude, Bard, Stability AI, Cohere, a whole ecosystem of large language models to keep us on our toes. But things can go wrong. And this isn't just any old technology. As all of us know, the degree of autonomy, lack of human intervention, the black box nature of some systems does make it different from other tech. And the challenge is to ensure that AI is our servant and not our master. And failure to tackle issues such as bias and discrimination, disinformation, lack of transparency, and IP rights could lead to a lack of public and consumer trust, reputational damage, and inability to deploy the new technology. Public trust and trustworthy AI is fundamental to continued advances in technology. And it's clear that AI, even in its narrow form, will and should have a profound impact on and implications for corporate governance in terms of the need to ensure responsible or ethical AI adoption. Trade organizations such as Tech UK and organizations such as your own Partnership on AI recognize that corporate responsibility and governance on AI is increasingly important. And this means a much more value-driven approach to the adoption of new technology. Engagement from boards through governance, right through to policy implementation is absolutely crucial. And this is not purely a matter for the CTO or the CIO. It means, in particular, assessing the ethics of adoption of AI and the ethical principles to be applied corporately. It may involve the establishment of an ethics advisory committee. It certainly involves clear board accountability. Now, we have a pretty good common set of principles, the OECD or G20 principles, which are generally regarded as the gold standard which can be adopted, which can help us ensure quality of training data, freedom from bias, the impact on individual civil and human rights, accuracy and robustness, transparency and explainability, which of course includes the need for open communication where all these technologies are deployed. And of course, we now have the draft G7 principles for organizations developing advanced AI systems to back these up. Generally, in business and in the tech research and development world, I do think there is an appetite for adoption of common standards which incorporate ethical principles such as for risk and impact assessment, testing, AI audit, continuous monitoring. And in that context, I very much welcome the launch yesterday of the Partnership on AI's guidance for a safe foundation model development. And I think that those are very much what we can build on. And I am optimistic that common standards can be achieved internationally in all these areas. The OECD internationally is doing a great deal to scope the opportunity and enable convergence. Our own AI Standards Hub, run by the Alan Turing Institute, is heavily involved. And of course, so is NIST and the EU's CENELEC as well. Agreement on the actual regulation of AI, i.e. what elements of governance and application of standards is mandatory or obligatory, however, is much more difficult. In the UK, there are already some elements of a legal framework in place. Even without specific legislation, AI deployment in the UK will interface with existing legislation and regulation, in particular relating to personal data under the GDPR, discrimination and unfair treatment under the Human Rights Act and Equality Act, product safety and public safety legislation, and various sector-specific regulatory regimes requiring oversight and control by people undertaking regulated functions, the FCA for financial services, Ofcom in the future for social media, for example. But when it comes to legislation and regulation that is specific to AI, such as over transparency and explainability, that's where some of the difficulties and disagreements start emerging, especially from the UK's divergent approach in its recent white paper, which differs greatly from the approach adopted by the EU. Our government says it wishes its regulation to be innovation-friendly, context-specific, but it's electing to follow an approach that sets out the core principles of AI, which, as they say, allows regulators to develop their own sector-specific definitions to meet the evolving nature of AI as technology advances. But it doesn't mandate any particular standards. But we do need to be clear that regulation is not necessarily the enemy of innovation. In fact, it can be the stimulus, and it can be the key to gaining and retaining public trust around digital technology and its adoption, so we can realize the benefits and minimize the risks. And the more we diverge in the UK when it comes to regulation from other jurisdictions, the more difficult it gets for developers and those who want to develop AI systems internationally. In my view, we need a broad definition of AI and some overarching duty to carry out a risk and impact assessment and subsequent regular audit to assess whether an AI system is conforming to AI principles. Depending on the extent of the risk and impact assessed, further regulatory requirements would arise. International harmonization, in my view, is essential if we are to see developers able to commercialize their products on a global basis. They need interoperability, assured they're adhering to common ethical standards of regulation. That, I believe, would help provide the certainty businesses need to develop and invest, particularly in the UK, of course, more readily. And that, in my view, is the way to get real traction to realize the full benefits of the global development of responsible AI, which we all want to see flourish. Thank you.